Hey y'all, and welcome back to my channel. So today I have brought all of my tarot cards down off the top because I had said in a previous video that what I was going to do is go through my tarot collection. So I'm currently sitting at this very weird angle because I have everything propped up in a way that I can just turn y'all to hopefully let y'all see the desk and the cards. So I'm going to turn y'all now. Okay, so at this point I can't really see y'all, so I hope you guys can see everything. I hope that the AC isn't too loud. It's kind of toasty in here. So I have a few different things going on. So I have a lot of tarot decks, but I also have a lot of oracle cards. So if you're not in like the know about divination cards and whatnot, there are tarot cards, which I will show you, and then there are oracle cards or other divination cards. So what is the difference for those of you who don't know? As you'll see, like when we start going through some of these, and I'm obviously not going to show you every single card of every single deck, like whatever. Every single one of these decks is going to follow a very similar structure. So there is the major arcana and the minor arcana. The minor arcana is made up of 4 suits. So you'll have cups, swords, pentacles, and wands. The major arcana is going to be probably like what you have heard about tarot. Like you might have heard things like the Lover's card, the Death card, the Wheel of Fortune, things like that. Those are all your major arcana, and then anything that is not a suit is your major arcana. And your minor arcana are your 4 suits. Now, some of the decks that I have do play around with the convention of like what the 4 suits are. So typically in tarot, you're going to see cups are typically associated with the element of water, wands with fire, swords with air, and pentacles with earth. Sometimes you'll see decks that'll say, instead of like the 4 of swords, it'll say the 4 of air, and so on and so forth. Your oracle cards do not follow that similar suit. Oracle cards can be a range of different styles. They might have different purposes. Some decks have 55 cards, some decks have 40 cards, some decks have, 70 cards. It all just basically depends on the artist and the deck. What I figured would be the best way to go about this video, let me move the drinks. So I will go through all of the decks. I will explain, what the decks are, who made them, talk a little bit about them, and then I'll show off some of the artworks for each deck. So for those who are also interested in tarot, you might have some of the same decks, or you might be thinking about purchasing a deck, but you wanted to see it first, so you might see that deck in here. So the first one that I want to start with is my Radiant Wise Spirit Tarot, because this was my first ever tarot deck. So the Radiant Wise Spirit Tarot is the first deck that I ever got. Me and Rebecca became interested in tarot at the same time, and we decided, because one thing that they say is not to buy your first deck, like let your first deck come in as a gift. So what we decided was that I would buy her a deck, she would buy me a deck, and that way we would be able to start learning tarot together. One thing that I hold dear to me is that it's important to have a deck that is just for you, and a deck that you don't do readings with. And for me, that is this deck. I pull out this deck when I have questions about myself, when I'm inquiring about my own situation, or if I want to do like a card a day reading, I will pick from this deck. So with this deck, I will just skim through the art fairly quickly. This is the Rider-Waite style. The artwork is a little bit more like modern on the color, and there is no borders. This is what they look like on the back. So in this deck, I would say my favorite card is the 3 of Swords. This is one of my favorite tarot cards. So I will show you that one, traditional artwork. And there's like a lot of beautiful cards in this traditional style. But the Three of Swords was one of my first ever cards because I just related to it a lot. I related to the heartbreak. I related to, you know, the whole story behind the card. The next deck I'm going to show you is my Ghost and Spirits Tarot. And I would definitely say, I don't necessarily want to say that this is like my least favorite, but this is definitely not my go-to deck in any sense. They shuffle gorgeously, and I'm in love with the way they shuffle. I'm in love with the artwork. However, the entire theme with this deck is that each card is representative of a different ghost or spirit from different religions, different stories, different folklore, whatever. This deck is created by Lisa Hunt, published by the US Games System. And I will show you a quick flip through of these cards. This is what the backs look like. But we can flip through some of them. You can see that a lot of them are more dark. They are all based off of different ghosts, different spirits. I will find one that I know. I did go through and I read this whole book and I tried taking notes on the whole thing. I really did want to like connect with this book more, but it just wasn't necessarily in the cards for me. I love shuffling it and I don't mind doing readings with it every now and then, but it is definitely not the go-to at all. So as a theater major, I connect with this card because this is the King of Cups, but it is represented by the ghost of Banquo. I think it's Banquo. There is the ghost of Hamlet in here too, but I don't remember which one's which. So that's the artwork with there. This is the Classic Design Tarot. I got this on Amazon for really cheap. I don't think it has a formal like publisher. I don't know if it really has a formal like author, but this is another one that is just your Rider-Waite design. However, these ones are meant to look a little bit more vintage. As I flip through real quick, you can see the colors are a little exaggerated, a lot of focus on yellow, blues, and oranges and greens. If you were to flip through all of these, you'd see that. One thing that I wasn't too fond of when I bought this deck, and I kind of expected it to not be anything special. I wasn't expecting it to be like this great deck because it was on the cheaper end. However, the one thing that bothered me is a lot of the cards are off center. And it bothers me a little bit, and I was thinking about writing to the author because it didn't look like this was the case, and a lot of the reviews didn't look like this was the case. This did bother me a lot at first. However, I feel a connection with these cards to a point where I do use them for readings quite frequently. A lot of times I will pull two decks, so I'll do like a main deck and then I'll do a side deck for like clarifying, and this I will use a lot of times when I am clarifying. They shuffle pretty nicely. You can tell they do kind of feel cheaply made. I'm really in love with the backs, honestly. That's what drew me to them from the get-go. If you're somebody who's like interested in tarot, but you're not like that committed, or you don't want to go spending like $40 on a deck, then this is definitely a great like starter deck. I kind of like the vintage look. I wish all of the cards were centered. That's really my only problem with the deck, is if the cards were all centered, I really wouldn't have a problem with this at all. But this is what it looks like again from the front. This deck right here is the first deck I bought myself. So this is the Tattoo Tarot, Ink and Intuition. So I enjoy doing readings with these cards, and there was a point in time when I felt really close to these cards. But that was when I still hogged the book a lot, and I would carry the books around with me everywhere. And when I had a book, it made reading with these cards a lot easier. And you'll see as we flip through, a lot of the suit cards are just like whatever the suit is. So when I'm looking at the pictures, trying to remember the card meanings. It gets a little bit difficult with this deck, but I absolutely love the American traditional art style that they're going for. I'm absolutely in love. Let me bring him to the front because he's one of my favorite cards in the deck. Honestly, these cards are just so beautiful in and out. Let me pull up the Lovers too, because that's another one of my favorite cards. So, I'm absolutely obsessed with the Lovers card in this deck. I think that is absolutely gorgeous. I just love the Lovers cards. It is the card of Gemini, so... And I also love the King of Cups, mainly because it's an attractive man. The entire suit of cups is pretty attractively drawn. These are the backs as well. I'm always intrigued by the backs of cards, and I find that when I watch tarot readers, they don't ever really show the backs of the cards, so I can never really make that connection. But that's those. Let's see. Next, I will do the Wild Unknown. So I actually have Oracle cards by the same lady. This is Kim Kron's. And the whole idea behind these cards is that they are a large focus on nature. And the Oracle cards are a large focus on animals of nature. So it's not like cats and dogs, which are domesticated animals, but instead it would be like a wolf and a lion or a tiger. These are probably the lightest cards, and you'll see what I mean when I bridge them real quick. They got a lot of bend. Let me show you that again. They got a lot of bend here, so learning how to shuffle tarot is a whole nother problem because the cards are kind of large, but it's all good. You get pretty used to it, and then when you go to shuffle normal playing cards again, you feel weird because they're so small. Here's the backs, and a favorite card from this deck. So I'll show you 3 cards from this deck. We have the Tower card. So the Tower card is pretty notorious for being one of the most unwelcomed card in a reading, although it's really not as bad as a lot of people make it out to sound. There's the 3 of Swords again. I absolutely just love this. I love the whole idea of it being wrapped instead of going through your heart. It's almost like you bound the swords together. So it really questions who's giving the 3 of Wands that authority over you. And then there's the Lion holding a rose. The Strength card means a lot to me, but I'm not really going to go into the whole story behind it, because at the end of the day, there's a lot of cards that have a lot of meaning to me. The Strength card is a little different to me though, because it's not necessarily involved with tarot, but just different influences in my life that I've drawn a connection to with the Strength card, and I just love this depiction. So next, I will show you the Tarot Grand Lux, which I think is my favorite artwork. This is Ciro Marchetti. I think that's how you pronounce his name. The backs of the cards, which I did not actually know what the backs of the cards looked like when I bought them. I only knew what the front of the cards looked like. These are definitely the hardest to bridge. They definitely were a lot worse when I first got them, but since then, they've gotten a little bit better. So with these cards, these are also the biggest cards that I have as far as tarot cards go. But Ciro is a graphic designer, and he is known for a lot of his decks. These cards are just stunning. The 6 of Cups is one of my favorite in the deck, along with the Wheel of Fortune, which is probably hands down my favorite tarot card across the board. But in this deck, it's just so stunning. It's also the box art, which is amazing as well. But I like the Wheel of Fortune because it's a good reminder that your life is always going to have ups and downs. And when we get so prideful in the ups, the wheel is here to humble us. And when we feel like we've hit the bottom, the wheel is here to take us back up to the top. So this is my Pride Tarot. The box is a little bit damaged because The book is ginormous. So when I put the cards in the box, there's this much space not being used up. So when I travel with them, this box likes to get squished. My favorite thing about the Pride Tarot is that it's not one author. And that brings us to the back. So these are the backs of the cards. And you can see that no matter which way you put it, it says love is love. And if we get in a little bit closer, you can see all of the different signatures of all the different artists who have helped contribute to this deck. This deck was made by 45 different artists who are all LGBTQ activists. A lot of them identify some way, whether that is, you know, just as queer, transgender, gay, bisexual, anything like that, from all across the globe. So when you flip through, you can see that each card has its own art form, and some of the artists designed multiple cards, so there will be 2 or 3 cards that kind of line up, and you can tell were designed by the same person. But for the most part, you can really see how art is so different, but it's all still so beautiful. There's one card in particular that I want to find. Okay, so we'll do that one. I want to find the Emperor. Oh, boom, just like that. There's, oh my god, there's honest to god just so many cards in this deck that I absolutely adore. I want to find a lot, especially ones that like highlight different artists. So I have the 6 of Cups again, but you can see the art style. It also says who illustrated each card. I wanted to show y'all the Devil card. I think this one is very well done. I think it's all just very well done. The Queen of Pentacles, the 4 of Cups, the Lovers again. This is probably my favorite card in the whole deck. The Emperor, which is actually a woman who is sitting strong and in a very assertive position. And the whole idea, especially here we have the King of Wands, is also meant to be a lesbian woman. And just this idea of letting women have power and putting women as the King's cards or the Emperor, I absolutely love. And I don't know if I said this already or not, but part of the proceeds to buying this deck do go to help LGBTQ missions, I guess. I'm not quite sure exactly what it goes to. I think they divide it to a few different charities. But this is also US Games Inc. And they worked for a while to get this deck up and going. But it is, honest to God, so beautiful. And then this brings us to our last 2. So the Light Seers Tarot is one of my favorites and one that I have been using a lot recently. Here's the backs to these cards. I'll show you the fronts in a hot second. The thing with these is the artwork is very clear about, you know, you can see in every single card like what the mood of the card is. And that's one thing that I was talking about with the Tattoo Tarot, is that it's hard for me to feel that sometimes without having the illustration. But these illustrations are just top of the line when it comes down to the card, meaning they shuffle amazing. They are surprisingly thick because each individual card doesn't feel thick, but when you put them together, like the deck itself just feels very thick. But let's flip through some of these as I look for some to pull out. We'll pull the Devil. What else do we got? Like that one. But now I will show you kind of what I mean. So this is the Empress card, and the Empress card is a card of fertility and motherhood, and you can see that she is pregnant with the world in a sense. The Devil card is about what, like, the things that you know are negatively affecting your life, but you don't want to let them go, or like those toxic traits that you don't want to let go. And you can see that, you know, it is like an attractive man, but he has you held as like a puppet string, and I think that means so much. And then the Eight of Swords is all a card about like self-entrapment and, you know, the mindsets that you put onto yourself. And here you can see like she's sitting and she's fine and she's not tied up, but when she looks at herself in the mirror, she's all tied up and she has nowhere to go. And it's all about like that mindset that you put yourself in. This artwork is gorgeous. This is Chris Ann, who did these. I'm not quite sure. Okay, Hay House Publishing. And then we come to my last deck. This is my newest deck, and probably one of my favorites because I'm such a sap for dogs. But it is the Magical Dogs Tarot. This box is unnecessarily ginormous because the cards are actually some of the smallest cards that I have. But these also shuffle gorgeously. And they are very, very bendy, and I don't want to like accidentally bend it, you know. Even just doing that, I could already feel like it bending. And you can see like how far back I can bend them when I'm shuffling. So as far as durability goes, they're not necessarily like the strongest. I like them when they shuffle nicely like that, but I know some people don't like cards that are this durable. Or not yet, this flexible. But I will flip through and just show you all of the gorgeous puppers. This one, like I said, this deck doesn't have the 4 suits. Instead it has the 4 elements, as it does try to be more in tune with nature and how the dogs are experiencing nature. I honestly don't even know if I've picked a favorite card in this deck yet, because they're just all good pups. They're all good little boys and girls. I definitely passed him, I think, but the fire puppy is so cute. Another thing, this is a good time to talk about, is there's your 4 suits, and it goes ace to 10, and then you have your court cards. So you have your page, your knight, your queen, and your king. This deck does it a little differently. Let's find the court cards of the sea. Here, instead of the page, we have the sea puppy. And then we have the sea guardian instead of the knight of cups. And we have the sea alpha female, which is the queen of cups, and the sea alpha male, which is the king of cups. And I did find the fire puppy because I think he is just the cutest little thing. He's so excited to be holding his little stick. I love these cards so much. Here's the backs of them. Hey y'all, so I'm editing this and it has already been 20 minutes and I don't know why I didn't think about this when I was recording. I really thought I would be able to edit this down some, but it's already been 20 minutes after editing and there's no way y'all are going to want to watch me do this for an hour today. In order for me to get this posted in a decent time and keep y'all entertained and everything, I'm going to do all the Oracle cards in a separate video tomorrow. So I'm going to end this video here and we'll do a part 2 of this whole event, and I will just do tarot today, Oracle cards tomorrow. But if you like this video, give it a big thumbs up, leave a comment down below, let me know if you have any of these decks, or if you're interested in any of these decks, or let me know what your favorite tarot decks are, and hit that subscribe button and the bell notification, and I will see y'all next time.